Another formative experience for me was when ISIS almost took over Mosul, Iraq, which is the biblical Nineveh, and they were going towards Arbil, Iraq, and the Allied forces turned them back. My friend called me the week after that and said, "Do you want to go to Arbil, Iraq? I want to figure out what we can do." He's in charge of a nonprofit humanitarian organization. And I said, "Yeah, I will go with you." And I flew with him in there, and it was my first time in a war zone where there were a lot of people that were traumatized, and we didn't see all of them, but there were 1 million people that had been chased out of their homes. Some of the things that were done to their families, their daughters, their wives, their grandparents, it was just unspeakable. We listened to some of their stories. The United Nations told us, be careful for car bombs, be careful for kidnappings. There had been some atrocities just the week before we got there. And I would have to say, in a dark moment like that, I always thought my faith was pretty strong. But you begin to question it at times. Lord, are you going to protect me when I'm out here? Or are you going to let me be taken or get blown up? And that somewhat bothered me. And I got home and I was pastoring and kind of wrestling, because I always thought I would get to a certain point in my life where my faith would be just so strong and so good that I wouldn't have to worry about it. And I realized when I was there in Iraq, I was praying desperately, and praying in the middle of the night, just for safety and for peace in the midst of this dark time. Lord, I just want to see my kids again. I just want to go home. And I got home and I thought to myself, I'm a pastor. My faith should be stronger than this. I'm telling other people how they should have faith. I went back and I reread Psalm 34. And it was when David, who was a man after God's own heart, who's a biblical hero, lost his mind in a time of distress, when he thought his life was in danger from King Abimelech. And one of the things that he cried out to God was that, I will always praise you. You delivered me from all my fears. That's what I like to share with people. It's like, I wrestled with that, and I saw God was faithful. Not because I was such a good pastor or a good person, but because of Jesus. But because of his righteousness. And it just so happened that next year we were going to celebrate Martin Luther's 500-year anniversary of posting his 95 Thesis on the door of Wittenberg. And I began to study his life, and I saw what he went through of trying to even make his service acceptable to God, and how he had to wrestle with grace. And how he came to understand that even once you made that turn, that initial turn, and come to God and journeyed with him, that we're just as much in need of God's complete grace and righteousness by the faith of Jesus, by what Jesus did for me. It was a comfort. I remember even reading where I was at the moment when I was reading about his life in the library there in northern Minnesota. And a peace came over me as I was reading it. And it was something I realized that I will never not need the grace of God. And Jesus even became more special to me, almost because I had struggled. It sounds paradoxical, but it actually strengthened my faith to have weak faith, because I saw how Christ was never going to give up on me.